Hey people, it's Niles Doggy. Now I'm continuing from where I left off on the previous video to finish this off. So here it goes. The 5 Nigerians confirmed to have COVID-19 have been to 8 restaurants, 9 hotels, and 12 public spaces before testing positive, according to state-run Global Times. Since then, Africans across Guangdong province have been reported to being tested in their homes despite having no recent travel history or contact with a COVID-19 patient. Maro Gasset, international student from Botswana at a Guangzhou University, said that at 3 p.m. on Sunday she received a WeChat message from her course administrator saying she needed to be tested, despite having not left China for over 6 months. It was only when I got there I realized it was only African students. There are other students from India in my halls of residence, but they were all not there. Just our small community of Africans, she said. The officials took a swab from the back of her throat and said they would call if she had the virus. She never heard back. As a student, Gasset says she has no contact with the Nigerian trading community. Meanwhile, in Shenzhen, a city about 140 kilometers, 87 miles south of Guangzhou, Yusuf, a Senegalese man who did not want to disclose his surname for security reasons, said at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, Chinese authorities came to the apartment he shares with his Canadian wife in a compound with many foreign residents. They knocked on the door. A guy showed me his phone with my full address, my full name, and my country, said Yusuf. He told Yusuf to go to hospital at 5 p.m. to get tested. Yusuf asked if they also want to test his Canadian wife. Neither of the couple had left China in the past 12 months. They said, no, we're just testing Africans, Yusuf said. Canada has more than 20,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus and is on the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs list of high-risk countries. The Shenzhen Municipal Health Commission did not respond to CNN's request for comment. African people are not welcome in China. We've been discriminated against repeatedly, he said. Africans in China have long complained of racism in the form of Chinese people holding their noses as they walk past, racially offensive adverts on television, and Chinese actors performing in blackface in a nationwide gala. Earlier this year, when Beijing proposed changes to its immigration laws around permanent residency, a backlash emerged on Chinese social media site Weibo against Africans. Many of the comments have since been removed from the platform. Smith, the American expat who helped coordinate the food drop, lives in Guangzhou with her Moroccan boyfriend. In late February, the couple went on holiday to Malaysia. She returned on March 17th and says she was asked to self-isolate at home for 14 days. He returned on March 25th and says he went into a government quarantine facility paying 400 yuan, $56 a night at a designated hotel, and emerged on Wednesday after testing negative twice. On Thursday, health authorities came to the couple's flat and said that Smith's partner, who did not want to be identified in this piece, would have to quarantine at home for 14 days because all Africans in the city were being put on lockdown, Smith says. Smith says her employer, an international school in Guangzhou, was informed on Thursday that all Africans need to go into lockdown, and it has several South African employees. CNN has spoken to several other Africans who were visited by authorities on Thursday and told they needed to quarantine at home for 14 days. They say police put alarms on their front doors to alert officials if they leave home. There have been no public statements confirming or refuting the existence of an official policy about these measures. Smith was told if she chose not to live in the apartment she shares with her African boyfriend, who has twice tested negative for the virus, she would have to quarantine. There's resentment in Guangzhou that a lot of Africans are perceived to be here illegally and that they overstay, said Smith. There's been a push in Guangzhou to get them out. This has been an easy excuse to push this community out. When the authorities came to Peter Busare's Guangzhou apartment on Wednesday to test him, he filmed the exchange and went live on Facebook. That footage shows officials also asking to see his passport and check his visa. Wang Wei, a PhD candidate at the University of Hong Kong who has been studying the African community in Guangzhou for several years, said testing Africans gave the government a chance to conduct a mass checking of passports too. It threatens the undocumented Africans, said. Officially, African foreigners in Guangzhou decrease every year. We all know that undocumented Africans still live in this circle doing business on the ground or through brokers. Because of the pandemic, they will become exposed. Those caught overstaying their visas will be taken into police custody, asked to pay a 10,000 yuan or $1,421 fine, and often charged for the airfare back to their home country, said Wang. Robert Castillo, an assistant professor at Lingnan University who has researched the African community in Guangzhou for nearly a decade, says the Yushi district where the Nigerian COVID-19 cases were found has historically been a place where the African community is in more tension with the authorities and was a troubled site during the Ebola crisis of 2014, where Africans of all nationalities were stopped and checked regardless of whether they were from the affected nations. In 2009, a riot among Africans was sparked in Yuji after a Nigerian man, who was rumored to be undocumented, was injured jumping from a building to avoid a passport check. Africans in Guangzhou have been encouraged to leave the city in recent years for a series of immigration policies, economic developments, and heightened policing. Meanwhile, Thursday reports emerged from Africans in China that the crackdown on Africans is wider than Guangzhou. One Ghanaian family in Beijing with no recent travel history or contact with COVID-19 reported that police came to their apartment in the early hours of Thursday morning and ordered them to leave. The Ghanaian embassy in Beijing confirmed that 2 Ghanaian nationals were currently seeking refuge there and declined to comment. Africans in Chengdu and Fujian province also told CNN they've been visited by community officials. China-Africa relations. Why are we being discriminated against like this? Are there no Chinese in Africa? One African was heard asking a Chinese policeman on the street in Guangzhou in a video shot on Thursday evening. As many face another night sleeping rough on the streets of the city, it is a question that speaks to the implication as the crackdown on Africans in China could have on Beijing's bilateral relations with governments on the continent which they have courted with investment for decades, where anti-Chinese sentiment is already rumbling. About 1 million Chinese are estimated to be living in Africa. On Twitter, one user noted that Kenya allowed a plane of Chinese nationals to land in Nairobi at the height of China's crisis, but when the virus reached Africa, the same compassion had not been shown in Guangzhou. On late Thursday night, local time Abuja, Nigerian Foreign Minister Jeffrey Onyema tweeted that he had invited the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Zhu Pingjian, to communicate his government's extreme concern at allegations of maltreatment of Nigerians in Guangzhou. China has been trying to position itself as a friend to African states as they battle the virus. Li Mingzhu, an official at the National Health Commission, said earlier this month that China has been sending medical teams to African countries for 57 years and will continue to offer to help African countries to improve their ability in combating the novel coronavirus outbreak. But not all African nations are satisfied with that. The South African economy has already lost billions of rands due to Wuhan virus. The Chinese government was cancelled the debt by South Africa as a sign of remorse. Where is South Africa going to get money to pay them back in addition, causing the deaths of our innocent citizens? Ghana's finance minister called on China to ease African countries' debt burden earlier this month, while on March 31, that's the same thing I just read. Zhao Lijian, the Chinese foreign ministry spokesman, addressed the matter of debt earlier this week, saying, "I believe China will resolve these countries' difficulties via consultation through diplomatic channels." Castillo said one reason the Chinese might be cracking down on Africans in Guangzhou is because they don't trust the low numbers being reported by various nations. But to acknowledge that could be diplomatically awkward. It's already a PR mess for China, said Castillo. When they're doing this to foreigners, it's just exacerbating that negativity. Alright, well, I finished the article. I'm going to leave this in the description so you can read it yourself. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, leave my GoFundMe there as well. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me there as well. Peace.